So shutter speed, my favorite shutter speed.
What is the best shutter speed for underwater photography? Again, I'm gonna say it's the right one for the type of shot you're trying to do.
The best shutter speed for underwater photography? Well, it depends if you're shooting video or photo.
Well, if I'm shooting video, the best shutter speed is 1/125th because that's what I got.
Well, as a videographer, I don't switch my shutter speed. I never change it.
Well, shutter speed directly affects how much ambient light is going to hit the camera. So we use shutter speed to kind of dial in the blue water color in the background. So if we slow down the shutter speed, we're going to get more light coming in. That's great sometimes. Sometimes you don't have enough time to change like ISO and f-stop. So if you're trying to get the shot, sometimes you need to slow down the shutter speed just to let enough light in so you get a nice blue water background for wide angle.
Now, when you're doing photo, you can shoot as slow as a 15th even, and hand hold it underwater. On land, usually a 60th of a second is as slow as you'd ever want to shoot. But then if we're shooting strobes, we have a maximum shutter speed. It's called our max sync speed. A lot of cameras, like SLRs, you're in the 1/250th of a second. So I would say the best jump in the water setting is 1/125th. It's kind of a good shutter speed that freezes motion, not too dark. It still lets good amount of light in. So kind of 1/125th f8 is a good basic exposure setting right when you jump in the water.
If I'm shooting for still photography, that shutter speed is going to help determine the color of the water in the background. The shutter speed, if I'm lighting an image, is only going to change what isn't lit by my strobes. So a higher shutter speed is going to, again, knock out the ambient light and give me a deeper, richer blue. And a low shutter speed is going to brighten up the background and give me kind of a paler, more pastel blue. So again, the shutter speed is the one that works for your images. If you have an image with a lot of, again, sunlight, sunballs, it's going to get way up there to the maximum sync speed with my camera. Again, it's just I want to knock out all the ambient light, and in that case, the shutter speed is another arrow in my quiver to do that.
What is the best shutter speed for underwater video? So when it comes to video, the shutter speed is the one thing we don't usually change underwater. We use the same shutter speed as we would use if we were shooting video on land. And that's with the 180-degree rule when it comes to video. So if I'm shooting 60 frames per second, I'm going to double that, which is 120th. I don't have 120th on my camera, but I do have 125th. So that's close enough. So that's where I'm going to set my shutter speed. Another example, if you're shooting 120 frames, then you double that, so 120, 240, we don't have that, but we do have 250th.
So if I'm trying to get creative with my shutter speed, my favorite thing will be to slow down my shutter. If I've got a camera that can shoot with rear curtain sync, that will allow there to be motion blur, but kind of the face or the front of my subject will be in focus as long as the strobes are hitting it properly. I really like that with things like schools of fish, because it's a really great way to convey that there's actual movement and I guess kind of a slight amount of chaos to those scenes where all the fish are kind of moving together and everything like that. So if you got a big scene with a lot of moving fish, slow that down. That might be something like, I don't know, 1/30th, 1/15th, even slower depending on your scene. And that might yield some pretty awesome images of maybe like one guy that might be super tack sharp and a couple of other blurry images there. It just kind of conveys that those subjects are moving around a little bit better than just that, fast, sharp, kind of, I don't know how to describe it, static looking scene. Because that's not how animals are in nature, especially like a big school of fish that might be kind of turning around and really moving or being very amorphic kind of in their appearance.